Apapun yang kau perbuat, perbuatlah dengan segenap hatimu, seperti untuk Tuhan dan bukan untuk manusia. Kerjakan dengan setia apapun yang ia percayakan, mahkota kehidupan ia janjikan, ia janjikan, ia janjikan bagimu.
This is the third, and I think last, video documenting this Seventh-day Adventist Sabbath disaster. And what a disaster it's been. If you haven't watched the previous two videos, parts 1 and 2, they are linked below. Go watch those. I'm not going to expend the time to review what was in those videos. So this video, like I said in part 2, is going to do one thing, and it's going to be look at this so-called Sabbath vision of the so-called visionary Ellen White. I'm going to do this in 2 books. I have the 1882 Early Writings, which says of itself, this book is a reprints a lot of Ellen White's visions. There's a reason why this book was made, by the way. And if you read the preface, and I did, it states this book was made because there were lots of detractors at the time, saying, you Seventh-day Adventists, you are hiding visions of Ellen White. You are changing visions of Ellen White. And the Seventh-day Adventists said, oh, no, we would never do such a thing. We're so proud of our prophetess, visionary Ellen White, we're going to reprint them and put them in a book. And you're going to see basically what I just said is printed in this book. All right, so anyway, here. And here's another one. Now, this is 1882. This is 2014. This book also has visions of Ellen White. You know, what's funny is both of these books were printed by the Seventh-day Adventist Church reluctantly. They didn't willingly want to print this. They were getting pressure to print this from their so-called prophet. They didn't want to print this book either. This book is literally a gold mine. Letters and Manuscripts, Volume 1, 2014. Why did they not want to print this book? Because the Seventh-day Adventist White Estate website was hacked in 2012, 2 years before this, by SDA Anonymous. And SDA Anonymous said, you know, we're tired of you guys, White Estate. You say you're going to publish writings of Ellen White and you don't. Well, they hacked into them. They said, we have our writings and we're going to publish them. And they beat them to the punch and they published them here. They didn't want to publish this book, just like they didn't want to publish this book. But they had their hands tied. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at this book and its claim and see what it says. So look here. Here's the early writings that I just held up. Again, you can see the date, 1882. And I'm on the preface, and you can see preface page 4, and it talks about footnotes giving dates and explanations. And what they're saying here is in some of these visions, you're going to see some footnotes and dates and explanations, etc. And they talk about maybe some minor changes they've made. And then the next sentence says, aside from these, no changes from the original work have been made in this present edition. I mean, in this book, right? Early Writings, 1882. Except the occasional employment of a new word or the change in construction of a sentence to better express an idea, but no portion of this book has been omitted. That's interesting. Read that. Has been omitted. Okay, let's keep reading. Then they say, no shadow of change has been made in any idea or sentiment of the original work. In other words, we are republishing the original work, and verbal changes have been made under the author's own eye with her full approval. Interesting, right? So in other words, if there's any changes, and we consulted the Grand Seer Ellen White, and she agreed to them. But you see what it said? This book is supposed to have the originals of whatever it is, revisions in it. Okay, fair enough. Well, what does this book say? Kind of the same thing in particular, so let's look here. There's the cover. There's the copyright, like I said, 2014. That was because they were hacked 2 years ago. So they had their hands tied and they had to put this book out to get ahead of what the hackers had. So here's that actual Sabbath vision. And what I underlined in red, it's giving us the source of the vision. Pay attention to this first source. Transcribed from A Vision, Volume 1, Number 1, Broadside. And then they also put in here early writings, pages 32 to 35. And I got my little pencil notes that made it in the picture there because they chose the 1915 edition, which I thought was so odd. Anyway, Broadside, Volume 1, Number 1. We go one page before this vision. Here is that actual broadside. It's like, wow, this is great. This is the actual vision right here. This is the first time in April of 1847 the Sabbath vision was given. Here it is, actually put in print for the first time. All right, so what do we have? We got early writings, which claims to represent the original works. No omissions, no word changes. We have letters and manuscripts, which they say the original source for the same vision, the same Sabbath vision from April of 1847. The same Sabbath vision has as its source the broadside, that big sheet of paper that you just saw printed. I mean, there it is. There's the actual vision. So, one fine day, I said to my wife, honey, we're going to read Ellen White. Well, after I had to clean up the vomit on the floor from her, I got her to sit down, and so she had this book in her hand, and I said, we're going to read a vision. We're going to read this April of 1847 vision, and I'm going to have this book. And as we read it, if you notice any differences, honestly, I had no idea I was going to find anything different, but of course we're here with a video, so that means something's up. And I said, if you find anything different, let me know. I mean, anything, let me know. And, well, she did. So we started reading. Here we go. Very first paragraph. We read it together. I look at it and I say, do any changes? She goes, nah. Green check. Move on. Let's move on to the second paragraph. So we read the second paragraph together. Read it and check it. And, oh, by the way, look at this. Look at in early writings, it says showbread, like shewbread, S-H-E-W bread. And then in this letters and manuscripts, it says showbread. You know, I came across several variations like that. So there are some variations, but I'm not calling those changes. I'm just ignoring those. That's really, really minor stuff. So you know what I can say about the second paragraph? Hey, it's good to go. Let's move on to the third paragraph. Sit down, read it. Longer paragraph, you can see word for word. And what do we get on that one? We get green checks. It's good to go. Let's move on to the fourth paragraph. Uh-oh, we got a problem here. Let's go slowly and look at this problem. You can see in early writings, letters and manuscripts, the paragraph starts off with the same three words, and I saw. Now you can look at early writings on the left and look where the paragraph ends, waiting saints. But wait, the paragraph doesn't end there. In the book Letters and Manuscripts from 2014, that's not the end of the paragraph. And then you can look at the blue text, and here's the start of the next paragraph in early writings, but that's not the start of the next paragraph in Letters and Manuscripts. Look at the words on the left-hand side, waiting saints, and then I saw that God had children. That's the end of the paragraph, that's the beginning of the paragraph. But when you look at the one on the right, there's some words in between those. What do we have? I got 47 words that show up in letters and manuscripts that do not show up in early writings. That book, they said they didn't omit anything in. And what did those words say? Let's look at those. Here's the 47 missing words from early writings. And it says, and if one believed and kept the Sabbath and received the blessing attended it and then gave it up and broke the holy commandment, they would shut the gates of the holy city against themselves, as sure as there was a God who rules in heaven above. You know what these lying commandment keepers did? Because they pulled these words out of this book. You know what they just said? The chief seer, all you former Adventists who were Sabbath keepers, because the vision here that has the missing 47 words that this one doesn't have basically says, if you observe the Sabbath and you observed its blessings and you apostatized from it, God's holy kingdom is shut off from you. You thought the mark of the beast was the unforgivable sin. Newsflash, in this book and the original vision, it's not the mark of the beast is the unforgivable sin, it's apostatizing from the way the Seventh-day Adventists are observing the Sabbath. By the way, at that time it was 6 o'clock in the evening. To 6 o'clock. By the way, where does the Bible teach that you are closed out of the kingdom of God by apostatizing from a Sabbath? Because it's certainly taught here. So Seventh-day Adventists, give me that Bible verse. We'll be waiting for that in the comments below. Okay? So the Sabbath is essential for salvation. Obviously. Because that's what the missing 47 words just told us. So I go to my, okay, great. I'm with my wife. Say, got it. I see that big change. See where it starts, see where it ends. Let's read the next paragraph. Let's look on the screen and read it here. And we go, oh no. I already start off wrong in the next paragraph. All right, here we go again. Early writings on the left. I saw that God. Letters and manuscripts on the right. Same red text. I saw that God. And then we're going to look at the next paragraph. And where does it start? In the time, in the time. That's the blue text. All right? But what do we have that's different? Oh, look at early writings. That paragraph that starts off with the red text, I saw that God. Look at the green bubble. The paragraph ends with, would be stayed. The paragraph ends with, of his image, in letters and manuscripts. These paragraphs are different. Well, we got to ask really, okay, what is the big difference here? You know what the big difference is here? I got 98 words. Again, 98 words in letters and manuscripts that do not appear. Look at the red arrow on the left-hand side, because that's where the missing 98 words should be. Do not appear in early writings. And what are these 98 words? Let's look at them close. I saw, these are some of the craziest 98 words. I saw all that would not receive the mark of the beast of his image in their foreheads or hands, could not buy or sell. I saw that the number 666 of the image of the beast was made up, and that it was the beast that changed the Sabbath, etc. But look at those words. I saw that the number 666 of the image of the beast was made up. That is some crazy stuff. You know, I'm going to address where this passage is cited one more time, and it's in 1951. This whole 666 image of the beast was made up. It's a point of controversy because Adventists don't even know what it means today. They're like, what in the world is she talking about? So in Adventism, when you don't know what your seer says, you just remove it from her so-called vision from God. Remember what this book said. Let's look here. Page 4, the preface. No shadow of change has been made in any sentiment or the original work, and etc. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. You took 145 words out of the vision in this book. You had your hand forced here when you had to print it because someone actually had the real vision, put it out there, or was threatening to. This book here and these publishers are liars. They just frankly lied when they made this book in 1882. No wonder I keep calling Seventh-day Adventists lying commandment keepers. Here's what a book by a lying commandment keeper looks like. It's called Early Writings. All right? Because these guys censored 145 words, 2 big chunks of text. They decided to move out. We have the original 145 words here. So both of these, this April of 1847 Sabbath vision published in these 2 sources are different. Completely different. Here is the actual vision itself. Like I said, it's just the preceding page of the vision, the actual copy of the broadside. And I was able to find it, and I circled in red. These are the 145 missing words from early writings. So this book is factually wrong and a lie by the people that wrote the preface. The vision has been altered. Things have been omitted, and they said they weren't going to. This 2014 book is one of the very precious few that actually cites this whole vision that's in here. That the one that's on the volume 1, number 1 of the April of 1847 broadside. Not many books have that whole vision. Because here's what I did. I searched 19,279 magazines that I have by your church, Seventh-day Adventists, from the Present Truth of 1849 to my Advent Review of October 2023. 19,279. I have 618 Seventh-day Adventist books. Search those too. I'm searching for this whole vision here. And you know what I found? Of these almost 20,000 publications that I have, I don't know how many pages there are, but anyway, 20,000 publications. I found 5 publications that had the whole vision published. I'm not interested in parts and pieces. I want the whole vision. 3 times the vision was published. It was this lying, altered vision. It was changed in 1851, which is probably one of the reasons why why the detractors were out there saying, see, you change your visions, because they did it in 1851. They did it in 1915 in Life Sketches. They did it in 1922, The Christian Teaching and Experiences of Ellen White. They published the vision as it appears here, which is altered. Only 2 times besides this. 2 other times I could find the whole vision, the accurate vision, the one off the broadside, actually published. And that that one time was in 1847, A Word to the Little Flock. The whole accurate vision is published there, as well as 1951. That's in the Francis Nichol book, where he's answering for Ellen White, and he goes to great lengths to try to explain the 666 and all that. And you know what his number one excuse is to try to explain things? Well, we really don't know what it means, but you know, that was 1847 and we didn't really have our theology down, and we really weren't even a church then because it's 1863. And I thought, what a weak vegan excuse from Nichol. Of course. Didn't he read his own book? Ellen White has been the spirit of prophecy since 1844. Either it came from God or it didn't come from God. She says it did. But anyway, so I want to say, how can you Seventh-day Adventists tell me we observe the Sabbath because it's based on a vision by Ellen White? It's an altered vision. And this vision, this accurate one, has been obscured and hidden from you. Because if you don't read the 1951 book by Nichol, and you don't read 1847, A Word of the Little Flock, or this one, you'll never understand the real and accurate vision. You've probably been spoon-fed this altered vision. So you know what I know? Seventh-day Adventism is a religion not to be trusted, because they even changed the words of their so-called prophet.
Kristuslah Raja atas segala raja, Kristuslah Tuhan atas segala Tuhan, rajakanlah Kristus.